Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace and I'm going to cover all the weapon skills for the warrior. And there are a lot of weapons available to the warrior because it's a warrior. So if you are looking for a specific weapon, there should be time codes in the description box which will lead you directly to that weapon, because this video will be pretty long because of all these weapons. And I will be only focusing on the weapon skills. I will possibly, maybe focus on utility skills in the future, but right now only weapon skills. So let's get going, starting off with the two-handed weapon, the hammer. Pretty powerful, well, it feels pretty powerful, starting off with the auto attack, and number one is always your auto attack for every single weapon. And this is pretty straightforward, 3-hit combo, does quite decent damage. You have to understand these are the training grounds for PvP, or if you enter PvP you enter the training grounds and you can test every single ability that you have available to yourself at level 80, including all the with the according equipment as well. Fierce Blow, pretty powerful attack with a debuff, looks a little bit like this. Pretty straightforward, just an undercut. I'm not entirely sure how that move is called. This is definitely not an uppercut, but as you can see it has a debuff weakness, so pretty nice if you want to just debuff your enemies, which is always a very good thing to do, especially when you are fighting stronger mobs, of course. Hammer Shock smashes the ground and sends out a crippling wave. Not as powerful as the Fierce Blow, but it does send out a crippling wave, so it is a ranged attack and it does, you know, cripple. So if you are kiting or running away from, oh wait, that's the wrong move. If you are running away from people, as you can see, it's a very big cone. It actually hit this character as well, or this NPC, the target golem, a little bit more on the right. We'll do it one more time. As you can see, it is a very big cone, so you have to watch out that if you don't want to pull specific mobs. Right, we'll finish off Staggering Blow, which is, as you can see, very decent, powerful blow. Has a knockback. So let's just see how that looks. Not as big as a knockback as you would expect, but a knockback nonetheless. We'll just finish off this golem just to make sure we don't get out of combat issues when we are going to switch to the next weapon. But before we do that, Backbreaker. Knock down your target and foe. Insane amount of damage. Knock down for 2 seconds. So let's just see how that turns out. And that looks... It doesn't even look impressive. It's just a uppercut that you smash into your opponent. I never really thought that actually looked impressive, like the knockdowns, but that might just be my opinion. Still very nice if you just want to get out of, or for PvP purposes perhaps. But in the meantime we'll go to the Greatswords, which are of course the two-handed swords that are available to the warrior. And as I expected, some combat issues, so just gonna chain all the abilities available to us. Oops, hitting the other target on the side. So we have to finish them off, because it does take quite a bit of time to get out of combat, and you can't change your weapons in combat. You can't do anything regarding weapons you don't have equipped. You do have a weapon swap, which you unlock at level 7. Which looks a little bit like this, but it also has a cooldown, so you have to keep that in mind. But right now we are just going to focus on the two-handed greatswords. And it looks like I am bugged right now, so I'm going to come back to you guys when it's done. Alright, and we're back. It took me a little while, I just had to walk away. But as you can see, two-handed swords are next. Starting off with the auto attack, of course. And I do find that the two-handed swords are the most powerful in the sense of single target DPS. Even though every single swing you do also has an AoE effect to it, at least as long as your enemy, or enemies in that case, are standing in the same line. But that was the auto attack, pretty straightforward, does cause vulnerability. Doing the strongest attack that I've seen for the warrior right now, 100 blades. And as you can see, it does count up quite nicely. 5k to start off with. on a single target mob. Not too bad, I have to say. So that's the second move called 100 Blades. Whirlwind attack, pretty straightforward. It's just a charge-like ability with some AoE in there. So that is that. Not too bad. Blade Trail is you throw your weapon and cause cripple. And I really enjoy this weapon because it is a range attack, and I do think that every single weapon does have to have a range attack or an ability that you can use at range, may it be offensive, defensive, or whatever, so you can at least do something while you are in certain situations. And of course Rush, which is the less impressive of the charges or leap abilities to go or get into combat or out of combat. I'm not really impressed by the two-handed Rush myself, but that might just be personal preference. Right, once we have done the two-handed weapons, we'll go into the one-handed weapons, starting off with axes. And we'll directly dual wield 2 axes because both main hand and offhand have their abilities. And this is what I use to level up quite well for quite a long time, because they do a lot of nice, decent damage. Auto attack is pretty nice, pretty fast. Does decent damage, no debuffs or anything. Cyclone Axe does cause a 4-stack vulnerability. And as you can see, that's quite a nice debuff in their defenses. It's pretty much a frontal cone, if you like. Number 3 is Throw Axe, also causes a debuff, 4 stacks of cripple, or 4 seconds of cripple. Which is pretty nice if you're kiting people around or are running away. Just finish him off. Before we do that, Dual Strike. Not only do you gain Fury, 2 stacks of that, which increases your crit chance, but it's also a very powerful frontal cone attack. Because you do attack with both weapons, and as you saw right there, they both do their own damage. Your main hand is probably doing a little bit more damage than your offhand. And of course the most visual impressive attack, which is your AoE, which is your offhand axe, called Whirling Axe, apologies, does quite a decent amount of damage if you get it constantly on one target, and it looks a little bit like this. As you can see, decent damage output even on single target, and it does hit everybody around you, so quite nice. And it looks quite fun as well, but if it's, you know, possible, I don't know, but it looks visually impressive considering you can only do it with weapons. There's no actual magic involved. But then again, that is debatable. Moving on to the maces, as well as main hand and an offhand. And these are about crushing, basically. You can directly feel that there is a lot more power behind it, as you can see. The third hit takes a little bit of a charge and does a lot more damage as well. Counter blow, pretty straightforward as usual with any single counter blow. It's a cast, but if you stop it beforehand, you're gonna need to start moving already. And you gain adrenaline if you are not attacked, so it's a good preparation move as well. Pummel bash, as you can see right there. Nothing too special, it's just a basically a stun, which is to be expected from mace-like weapons, at least in my experience in any single game. There you go. Crushing blow, as you can see, causing vulnerability as well as some decent damage. And it does have a pretty long cooldown, so you can't really stack it. But it's definitely nice to have that debuff in there in your rotation. Especially when it comes to vulnerability, you know, enemy defenses, if you can bring them down, you should do it. Because not only does your damage increase, you also increase your allies' damage. And of course, Tremor. Send a wave towards your foe that knocks enemies down in a line. That's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. Pretty much a shockwave-like ability. Nice nonetheless, I'm not saying that it's bad, but I always had thought that number 5 would be your ultimate of your weapon combo. But in dual wielding it seems to be not be really the case, I find. There you go. Moving on to the next weapons, and that's also finishing up the dual wielding in weaponry base, which are the swords. Do I have the sword equipped? Nope. Now I do. Dual wielding swords, and these are a little bit more my style, because First of all, you start chopping your enemy. Your auto attack does cause bleeding. As you can see, it does stack, which is very nice. As you can see the bleeding damage right there. Of course, you can then charge back into, which is your second ability called Savage Leap, which is why I prefer the sword in my main hand. Hamstring, if you just want to kite some people around. Pretty straightforward cripple attack, as to be expected from every warrior in every single game, let's be honest. Let's finish off this target golem right here. Impale is your ranged attack, doing some nice bleeding amount of stacks. As you can see, 4 stacks of bleeding for 12 seconds. So very nice if you are cutting around. You can actually see your sword being stuck in his face, so that's quite nice. And to finish off, Riposte, which is basically a counter, as you can directly see. If you block a melee attack, you gain adrenaline. If you are not attacked, well, you gain adrenaline if you are not attacked, but you can also block a melee attack. But as you can see, nothing too special. It's just another defensive ability, which is nice, don't get me wrong. It's just that I would have expected to have some kind of epic blow or epic flurry of attacks. That would be an ultimate. Then again, you do have flurry as your adrenaline attack, which is kind of neat as well. Does cause some very nice bleeding damage. Alright, now we have done all the dual-wielding as well as the two-handed melee weapons. So let's just continue into the offhands with the shield. Well, of course, every warrior should have a shield, at least in his inventory. Because not only do we have a very reliable stun, we just have a small range. But as you can see, combo finisher is a leap. Stun for 1 second, so very nice to keep that in there into your combo. And you can just keep moving, doing some damage. And if you are in a situation where you don't want to take any kind of damage, shield stance. Pretty much blocks any incoming attack for 3 seconds. And that's all shield gives. For your shield abilities, that is. See if you will bleed to death. Nope. You will fall to death. And there's also a PvP horn. At least the name of the item here is PvP horn. But it's basically a buff type ability. As you can see here, at number 4, charge. Which not only gives you a buff of swiftness, it also removes any kind of debuff that slows you down. And it is for all your allies. And buffs like this do really help out, even in combat. Because it does allow you to move out of the way of damaging abilities or damaging AoE abilities. And trust me, in this game there are some crazy things there that can hurt you if you don't move out quite fast enough. Call to arms, as you can see, not only does it buff you, it also debuffs the enemy. So gaining some vigor while debuffing the enemy with weakness, and you gain some vigor yourself. And this pretty much this is it for the melee attacks, but you also have as well a longbow available to yourself, as well as a rifle. And we will start off with the longbow. Longbow is of course the known weapon of Guild Wars 1 that was really loved in that game, at least to my knowledge. And it does have a very long range. And unlike the ranger, there is no actual damage increase depending on your range between the mob and yourself. So it's pretty straightforward. As you can see right here, doing 2 hits because you shoot 2 arrows. Shoot a pair of arrows. Fan of fire, which is pretty much a cone attack, applying burning damage. Nothing too special. Arcing arrow, or arcing arrow. I do think it's arcing arrow. Pretty much an AoE attack with a very decent explosion. I do think the fire is a little bit, at least the fire animations sometimes are a little bit overboard, but I can appreciate that. And of course the fourth, which is smoldering arrow. Not as much damage as you want to, but it does cause blindness. So very nice to support your friends with that. Got a elementalist over here. And before he kills my mob, we'll use pin down. Fires an arrow that immobilizes the target foe. And as you can see, he's stuck to the ground, which allows you to do some more damage before he actually gets to you. Showing off the adrenaline combustive shot. There you go. Just showing you a little bit of AoE. As you can see, area of effect circle, combo field fire. Very nice for AoE, so definitely something you want to be using if you find yourself in an AoE situation, and you will. So let's go to the PvP rifle, of course. And rangers can't use rifles. Engineers can, and warriors can as well. Clearly, otherwise I would not be able to equip it. And as you can see, auto attack is very nice. Cause bleeding damage. Very stable, very sustainable, very reliable as well. And you can just stand still and shoot pretty much anybody to death. Or kite them around while still keeping your bleeding stacks up. Alright, aimed shot, as you can see, cripples your foes. Pretty straightforward. Not too much in damage, but it does cripple. Volley, well, you can already expect what it does. Very nice combo for single target. Brutal shot, shoot your foes and makes them vulnerable. 5 stacks of vulnerability, which is minus 150 defense, which is something you can really feel. Defense, it basically breaks their defenses if you have not figured that one out yet. As you can see, quite nice. Stays for a pretty long time as well. Not as long as, of course, the brutal shots. But the best part of debuffs like this is you can stack them with other classes. So you can really rack those debuffs up. Especially if you are working together with classes that do have very spammable vulnerability moves. And of course, rifle butt. Which is your... if an enemy gets too close, you can just push him out of the way. And then roll back down. Cause some cripple. Mess them up with some volleys. And if you really want to finish them off, use your kill shot. It takes a little bit of time, but it does decent damage. And this is pretty much for ground combat. But also we have underwater combat. So we are going to move right there. And once again, these are just the training grounds, as you can see. It's a training area. And you can pretty much learn anything you want here, from, you know, like cannons to underwater combat, which I'm going to do now, or just training and testing dummies. And right now, and you know, the best part of the PvP in Guild Wars 2 is you get leveled up to the respected PvP area that you are going to be in. This is why I am level 80 right now. Holy hell, what happened? Apparently, I have to watch out. And all I wanted to do is just to go swim. I just want to go for a swim, guys. As you can see, the water's already here. I should have just taken the waypoint. I just realized that is my bad. So if you want to point that out, how stupid I was, please do that. But we'll start off, of course, with the harpoon gun. Why not? And as you can already see, you automatically change into your new weapons, but you have to be underwater. You have to be underwater, and there's no time limit to being underwater because you have a an underwater breathing device. But let's just start off with Marine Shot, which is your auto attack. Pretty powerful, pretty rapid, so no debuff as you can see, but the farther you are away, the more damage you actually do. As you can see, the most damage is happening if you are further away than 800 yards. But that seems to be reasonable. Starting off with the second one, which is Brutal Shot, and as you can already tell, it does cause some vulnerability. And you can pretty much stack them up, as you can see. It does cause like a projectile-based weapon, or a projectile-based bullet, as you can see. There's a little cone-like thing. Moving on to third, Split Shot, and you can already tell what it's going to do. Pretty straightforward. Just a cone attack, and the closer you are, most likely, the more bleeding bleeding stacks you will apply to your target. As you can see, 4 stacks right there. So, if you want to have a nice spread, move away. If you want to have a like a shotgun type effect, move closer. Alright, Not Shot fires a shot that immobilizes your foes. Very long range as well. As you can see, all the harpoon guns are very long range, all the abilities of the harpoon gun. So you can stay pretty safe while still being very offensive as well as supportive to your team. And the last one is Repeating Shot. And as you can already tell, it's multiple shots that also push back your foe. So let's just see how that looks. And that's then your defensive ability right there. So very nice. And also starting off with F1, which is your adrenaline special. Forceful shot, which is basically your underwater kill shot. That's pretty much the gist of it. But there's another underwater weapon, which is basically the melee weapon for underwater. And since we are a warrior, that is to be a little bit more traditional. So you're gonna basically stabbing the people, maybe players or NPCs. Does cause cripple by the looks of it, but that might just be because we are attacking from behind. So we're gonna attack from the front. Still causes cripple, so that's very nice to see. Oh yeah, it's combo. The third attack of your auto attack does cause cripple. Marine Frenzy, attack foes in front of you with a series of strikes. So stabby stabby. Decent damage. It seems to have a cone attack as well. So if you are in a choke point, let's say an entrance or an exit of a cave, very decent. Harpoon pull. So we're just gonna go back and pull that target to us. Pretty much Scorpion, get over here if you like. Alright, moving on to 4, Parry, which is your counter attack for underwater. And it does give you adrenaline if you are not attacked, so also a very nice preparation move if you like. And of course, Tsunami slash, spin forward and strike your foes along the way, which looks a little bit like this. Does a lot of damage, but it does have a decent cooldown. So if you bash into somebody, you can really rack up that damage. And of course the F1 special ability, which as you can already tell, stuns and does decent damage. So let's just see how that looks. That's it. That's all that was. It's not that visually impressive, but it does stun and does do some decent damage. Let's just finish this off. There we go. Oh, did I just hit him again? Nope. And this is pretty much it for the warrior. These are all the weapon skills available to the warrior. Once again, all the time codes are below. If you want to see more Guild Wars 2 content, guys, make sure to subscribe. Otherwise, make sure to stay tuned because there will be more incoming. And if you have any requests, let me know and I will make sure to see what I can do. I will catch you guys next time.